Hey folks, this video is going to explore the concept of male privilege in relation to violence and mortality. Male privilege is a term used to highlight how males have a range of social privileges conferred on them solely for being born as males. By contrast, it is widely acknowledged that being born into the female gender makes one face a range of disadvantages and barriers to equal participation in society. To rectify the perceived imbalance, Australian society has championed the rights of women where female disadvantage has been identified. Australia has a Human Rights Commission that takes gender discrimination seriously. Its focus on sexual discrimination is unashamedly primarily focused on females, and particularly on the importance of tackling the issue of violence against women. On its page about sex discrimination, the Commission notes, Australia has made good progress towards achieving gender equality in recent times. However, women still experience inequality and discrimination in many important parts of their life. At work, women continue to face a gender pay gap and barriers to leadership roles. Many encounter reduced employment opportunities because of the time they give to family and caring responsibilities. Sexual harassment and gender-based violence also threaten women's basic right to feel safe and respected at work, in public, in places of study, and at home. One of the impacts of recognising male privilege and female inequality is that it requires more attention to be given where it is most needed. As one would note from the Commission's planned priority areas, the female gender is prioritised throughout, either directly or implicitly. Reducing and eliminating violence against women is one of the core priorities. The question in this presentation is whether there is sufficient justification to prioritise the right of safety for women and not mention issues of importance for men. Is it a move to reduce discrimination, or is it an overt act of gender discrimination and inequality? Likewise, so does Amnesty International Australia, which includes a main priority of stopping violence against women, naming it as one of the most widespread human rights abuses. The World Health Organization has highlighted violence against women as a global public health problem and notes it as a deep-rooted problem. Being a man or a woman has a significant impact on health as a result of both biological and gender-related differences. The health of women and girls is of particular concern because, in many societies, they are disadvantaged by discrimination rooted in socio-cultural factors. Discrimination is the reason to be concerned rather than the risk or human safety, as highlighted here. These are just a handful of organisations which have isolated violence against women as being a high priority to address. The move to isolate and promote the rights of safety for women without addressing male safety would appear to be at odds with Article 7 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which states, all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against incitement to such discrimination. With any human rights issue, positive discrimination, which is aimed at correcting the balance, is allowable providing it is justifiable. The Violence Against Women campaigns regularly provide statistics showing that women are the primary victims of domestic violence, and hence they underscore the necessity to protect women. One of the difficulties with the campaigns highlighting violence against women is that the public is typically aware of statistics that show females are the dominant victims of violence. Male statistics are typically omitted altogether, or when used, done so only to contrast when it favours high rates against women. I decided to look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics site myself to find out what they say about male victimisation. Given the media coverage on violence against women, I expected to see very low statistics for men. 60% of robbery victims with threatened or actual violence were males. 35% of victims currently experiencing domestic violence are men. And 20% of victims of sexual assault are males. While the statistical evidence shows that females are more likely to suffer violence in the home, overall they are actually less likely to experience violence than are males. In fact, 60% of violence in Australia in 2012 was experienced by males. Given that males are more likely to be victims of violence, I decided to Google the term violence against men And also Google the term violence against women. The Google hits for women were 98.5% more than for men. While men are more likely to be victimised by violence, many more are interested in raising awareness of female victimisation from violence only. The almost sole online hits for violence against females demonstrates a skew from the so-called privileged male. The prioritising of safety rights appears more contingent on femaleness than on maleness. The right to continue to exist should trump other human rights. When a person is physically injured, many can expect a recovery with proper medical attention. However, when one is murdered, the victim can access no such remedy. Murder is the ultimate form of permanently denying someone their rights to life. Males are twice as likely to be murdered than females. To say it in other words, double the males are murdered each year in comparison to females. If there ever was a case for gender-based prioritisation, it is in the workplace. Males are 20 times more likely to die in their workplace than are females. Notably, in Australia, the Human Rights Commission is focused more on increasing female earnings in the workplace than decreasing male deaths. Suicide is at times linked with despair and social disadvantage. Males have up to 4 times higher rates of suicide than females. When looking at deaths in Australia, men are more likely to die and die younger than women. The male mortality rate in Australia is 60% higher than women. Males are the biggest losers in war. While the media focuses on the deaths and rapes of women in conflict zones, men are actually significantly more likely to be killed. While the Australian Defence Force aims to address gender inequality for women in relation to opportunities, there is yet to be an outcry at the disproportionate numbers of men being killed in comparison to women. Hillary Clinton believes that women have always been the primary victims of war. Women lose their husbands, their fathers, their sons in combat. Women are often left with the responsibility alone of raising the children. However, the quote appears to be saying that a man's life has value only insofar as their relationship to women and the benefits they bring. It is the impact on the woman that solely matters, not the loss of lives to the men. Given that men are more likely to die in war, die by suicide, be murdered, die by a whole range of things across the categories, as we highlighted before, the standard death rates, we now look at the recognition on Google, on the international search engine. And we find if we type in male deaths, 43% of the hits are for males, and females have 57% of the attention focused on their deaths. So we come back to the privileged male. Male privilege in Australia means male rights can be neglected with impunity. Males are treated as having lesser rights to safety or life than females. Violence against women is regarded as a priority issue for Australia. There are no known anti-violence against men campaigns, in spite of the available statistics. Males in Australia and internationally are more likely to experience violence and to die prematurely from it, and a range of other causes. Human rights bodies typically solely prioritise female rights irrespective of the statistics. Male victimisation statistics are typically not presented to the public or are glossed over, except to demonstrate male culpability or female disadvantage. Violence against women campaigns promote social discrimination on the basis of gender. So what can you do? Investigate and draw attention to omissions in gender-focused campaigns. Pay attention to how the media portrays males and females in what they report and what they don't report. Ask people if they value their daughters' lives over their sons' lives. If they value them equally, ask them to speak out against sexism against men. Highlight that the experience of violence is unacceptable for both genders. Promote gender understanding, not gender rights. Promote human rights, not gender rights. Remember, safety and well-being is a human right. Let go of simplistic terms such as male privilege, which are used as justifications to ignore and minimize basic rights to the half of the population. Forward this YouTube link to friends and family.